The coronavirus pandemic has turned life for so many families with children upside down and inside out. As a result, some families are increasingly stressed. During this time of disruption and uncertainty, we care deeply for you and your family.
Many parents and educators have been struggling with this new normal. How do you work remotely from home while caring for your kids all at the same time? How do you connect with your students on an online platform? Parenting and teaching are two tough jobs on any day by itself, but in a pandemic, they can be so much harder.
And this unique time is an opportunity to lead, cherish, and love on your family as never before. To bring insight, we have pulled together a panel of educators who are also parents that will share some relevant and helpful resources on parenting and teaching children and teens during this new season.
Join us as we go into the live panel discussion.
Hello, EC family. We are so glad that you joined us today. My name is Olivia Stevenson, and I am the assistant principal at Center High School, and I'm here with other EC educators, Michelle Manning, instructional coach at Carruthers Elementary School, Dr. Vashawn Smith, principal at Grandview Middle School, John Williams, assistant principal at King Elementary School, and our special guest, Carla Harris, the Director of Social Work for Grandview Schools. And we are here because it is the desire of our leaders that we always provide you with strategies for success. And during this time of a new normal, we know that some people, including parents, are experiencing a little bit of anxiety because of all of the different things that are going on in the home, especially as it relates to education. So today we want to encourage you to command your day. Commanding your day is a great way to bring normalcy, to relieve some stress and anxiety. One of the definitions of commanding your day is to bring authoritative order. We know that during this time of change and transition, people everywhere are trying to adjust to this new normal. This evening, we want to give you strategies for helping you to bring order into your day. Some of that order includes opportunities for productivity, rest, nutrition, and even worship, because worship helps us to get our mind ready for the day. Dr. Vashawn Smith, can you give us some strategies for commanding your day for preteens and teens?
Thank you so much for that awesome intro. Let's start with that. So the one thing that I want to hit upon is just kind of talking with those students, say, sixth grade and up. And one of the big things that we have continued to promote and do is we don't want to lose sight of structure. That's one of the top priorities, is making sure there's a structure to everybody's day, making sure that you have a schedule set out for your kids. But you also want to collaborate in that schedule making with your kids. So in the morning, you would sit down at breakfast, have a conversation about what work needs to be completed for that day, and then set up a schedule. And I would highly recommend those schedules be set up in 30-minute blocks of time. So that way we're not overwhelming kids and doing things like that. Most schools have kind of set out a set amount of work for the week for kids, so you should know exactly how much work the kid needs to complete from an educational standpoint, so you can pace that out. A Monday through Friday schedule is a huge thing. The other thing that we want to make sure that our students or our kids are having time for is having times for themselves. So making sure that they're having time for their hobbies, whether it be a gaming system, reading, watching movies, doing things to really relax and not just be focused on doing schoolwork all day long. I know in the normal setting in school, they're in school from 6 to 8 hours a day, and they're doing education back to back to back to back. But they also have those social times such as passing period, cafeteria time, gym time, and things like that. So we want to make sure that they're still getting those opportunities throughout the day by doing those other things besides just sitting and doing reading or doing math and social studies and science. So just to kind of start out, my big thing would be to make sure you have a schedule for every single day and making sure students have input in creating that schedule in 30-minute blocks of time, where they have some time for themselves in there, as far as we call free play, or stuff where they step away from the educational environment or educational work.
Very nice. Thank you, Dr. Smith. So important to make sure that there's that productivity, that students have time for rest, that they have time for nutrition, and a little time for parents to get things done. We know that the needs of preteens and teens are different than that of children. So, Ms. Manning, could you please give us some strategies for how we can engage our children under the age of 12?
Well, just to kind of piggyback on Dr. Fashawn, what he said, there has to be structure. And I kind of look at it as for elementary students, we want to have some flexibility, yet we need to be relatively consistent in what we're doing. So thinking about even the way that your morning starts, it doesn't have to be like a typical work day or a typical school day, but it can be a time that you set and say, okay, everyone in the house is going to get up at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. And I find out that is a blessing in disguise. So if I set my time that everyone needs to get up by 10, then I have from the hours of 7 to 10 to do my own schedule, to lay out my day in peace, and that helps a whole lot. So one of the things that Dr. Bashan said was setting those times for subjects. Since I'm elementary, I like to use the visual, so just get some basic note cards. And you may set aside about 4 cards for their content area for literacy and math. This is going to be schoolwork. And then you can get a couple more cards for TV, game. So they're setting these here on the postcards here so that you know that this is what I have to complete for today. Then you're going to have one for outside or PE recess time where they are allowed to go outside and play. And then I also have one here for chores. So having that structure within the day. And so it's important that we give our students a choice and a voice. So they have cards set out for them. They know that they have schoolwork. They know they have time for play. They know they can get on their cell phones to do TikTok for a couple times, but having that in structure. And then setting up just a brief little schedule. So you have your times there. They have already made their choices on what subjects they're going to do throughout the day. And this can be every day or maybe 3 times a day, 3 times a week that you changed your schedule. And on this one this is a Thursday schedule and some notes that I have. You're gonna do the dishes for your chores. And remember to write those thank you cards. So it can be laid out as simple and easy as this, allowing that flexibility but yet that consistency.
Thank you, and very good. That consistency plays a key part in making sure that we create and establish normalcy in the day, especially for young people, because this is a time that they've never seen before and we've never seen before, but making sure that they feel safe and secure by embedding that consistency is important. So it's easy for us to say, but you might be saying, well, I'm in the throes of this. I'm the parent. How can I, as the parent, make sure that I'm still not just being the teacher, but also being the parent that has to give rules and has to be authoritative? And so Mr. Williams is going to share with us some strategies for you as parents to have just in trying to keep your home together on a daily basis.
Thank you. So some of the things that's already been mentioned is a schedule. A schedule is very important. We basically put down all the times that the teachers will be going live to give that live instruction where the kids are able to ask teacher questions. So prior to, we kind of prepare for questions that they may have had from the previous lesson that they needed answered in order to complete the work. And also some other things. A lot of the times, they're reading some of these things that the teachers are posting and they don't completely understand what they're supposed to do. So some of those different ways, we have to get creative with ways that we are trying to teach and learn as a parent. So, with this being a millennial era and very tech savvy, they Google and look up everything, YouTube, TikTok. So we're using those same avenues to look up things that they may not understand. If it's a math concept that they didn't understand when they read the article, we're going to YouTube to see if we can find a video to, that can better explain, or they can see some examples being done. And also, like was mentioned as well, like some free time for themselves, giving them those mental breaks so they don't get frustrated with the work and want to give up, and it also makes you frustrated as a parent because you need them to get the work done, and it's getting you frustrated because they're not getting that work done.
Thank you. And Ms. Harris, did you have anything to add, especially looking at the social emotional needs of students during this time, and as it relates to the amount of work that they have to do? What suggestions do you have for parents and how to tackle having all of that work to do and spacing all that work out so that students are still successful at school, but they're not full of anxiety or stressed out?
Well, I think the first thing is that we all just need to breathe. We're all caught up in what our new normal is and making sure that we get things done. And sometimes we just need to take a minute and breathe. And our kids need to breathe too. So, there's so many things. Everyone has said great things up here. Preparing a schedule. We do a schedule at my house. And it starts with mom getting up in the morning and getting ready just like every day that I would go to work. So I'm ready to start my day fully. And looking at things, some of our kids, my daughter's a high school student, and like Dr. Smith said, sometimes there's lag in the material getting, or maybe your student finishes work and there's nothing to do. So we're creating math assignments. We're learning to cook. We're gardening. We're all of these things. The other thing, self-care is a great big thing right now. Not only for adults, but for our kids. And so take those breaks, take walk breaks, or if you want to read together, or whatever it is. So it's just a break from what you are, it feels like is so heavy on you. But I think everybody had really great suggestions up here, and keeping those time limits. First, elementary kids don't need to be sitting at the table for 2 hours trying to get work done. So it's okay. Setting up offices, I think, would also be a great idea. I was watching a webinar just the other day, and it talked about being able to separate parents being able to work at home, but also making sure their kids are getting done what they need to get done. So setting up an office, if it's possible, where mom or dad or whoever's at home can be in one spot, but have eyes on the kiddo just to make sure they're doing what they need to be doing and things like that. Siblings, we wouldn't want to set them at the opposite ends of the table. Set them in different offices if you can. And then someone said something else. I'm sorry, I don't remember what it was now. That's about all I have for right now.
Thank you. And another question to the group. How can parents get help from the schools? Sometimes they feel like they're a mile away because I'm on a computer at home and the teacher's on a computer somewhere else. How can parents get help for their students, even though they're digitally separated?
Like, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the teachers have scheduled Zoom times where they're getting on live, and so at those moments, students can get on as well as parents, and they can ask those questions that they may have to the teacher at that current moment. Also, they're able to email. I know through the Google Classrooms, which is what we use, there's email access set up so that the kids can email teachers questions that they may have, and the teachers can respond as well.
I would also suggest that parents look at other avenues, such as Khan Academy, YouTube and things. Like, just don't think the teacher is the only defense or the only person you can go to talk to. So what are those other avenues out there? Also, it's important for communities within the city to get together. So, if your kid has a friend who has a parent that's understanding something, so really reach out and start to build those co-ops amongst your kids' friends to get help with that. Because even as a teacher, for example, middle school, I'm available, but I got 100 kids that I have to talk to and I have to discuss. So it's best to kind of see what other avenues do we have to get help and assistance besides just the teacher. But that teacher, for me, would be the first line of communication I would reach out to, and then usually that teacher would be able to give some kind of insight. And And then if you can't get a hold of the teacher, I would go directly to the building administrator, not kind of on a tattletale thing, but just saying, hey, I know the teacher's a little bit overwhelmed. Is there other ways that you can help me kind of get assistance with the work that I need to get done for my kids? So the school would definitely be the first people I would contact.
And just in addition to that, there's also support staff. You have your parents, you have your special education teachers, you have your counselors, you have your specialty teachers. They are there to help support in the learning as well.
Speaking of that, we have a lot of parents, I'm sure, that have students on educational plans. What are some suggestions that you all have or that you've seen operating in your school that could help parents help those students who need that extra support?
Just like with the previous question, the contacting that student's IEP or the case manager would be the first person you want to contact, because all those accommodation and things are still need to be taken care of. So they can contact them and say, okay, how can I provide these same accommodations for my kid at home? And then that teacher or that case manager will be able to give them some recommendations, websites, different things that they can do while the kid is still at home.
And there are several different types of literature online where students can read that you can pull off, and we'll have some of those available for you. A different level text for students that may not be reading at their exact grade level. There are also ways that you can work with your student or even ask the school to make sure that they're modifying their work, even if you're not seeing it. Don't be afraid to reach out. That's what the school is there for, to meet the needs of the students, whatever their needs are, of all students. There are also several things that you can do for those fast finishers, those students who get done early. Khan Academy has a whole coding course that students can take. So it may not be part of their regular curriculum, but these are things that students can do. Not that we want to inundate them with work, but some students do need to be kept busy. And so Khan Academy is a great resource for keeping those students busy. And for everyone who has seniors, we know that seniors are experiencing a frustrating time right now because their graduations are in jeopardy. We don't know what's going to happen to them in that. Does anyone else want to share an encouraging word to parents with seniors?
Well, I will. I think that these are humongous milestones that we cannot overlook. And I think every kid is going to be different in how they respond to not being able to go to prom or go on those field trips, senior skip day and all of that kind of stuff. And I've seen tons of different ideas that people are doing. Fathers are taking their daughters to proms, creating proms in the backyards or, whatever, just making them feel special. If it's prom, we're having a very small get-together, and then maybe family and friends send virtual messages or things like this. Lots of people are doing, I've seen parades, drive-by parades, putting signs in yards. So I think it's just important not to overlook these important milestones.
I would also add to that, being a parent whose daughter just graduated last year, as a parent, this is a milestone that you're not getting. I know a lot of times we focus on the seniors and the great accomplishment they did, but as a parent, you're losing out on that opportunity. I just sit back and imagine like my daughter going to prom, and I remember graduation, the graduation party, memories that I will never forget. So I think parents need to be aware of their own feelings that are being hurt during this time, and how do they cope with it, and what can they do to kind of still capture these events, even though it won't be in the traditional manner.
That's a great point for parents also.
And I think that, too, it's important that we have these conversations with our young people in our homes, because they have feelings, too. And because they have feelings, sometimes they feel that their feelings are not important because no one speaks with them about it. But my parents have 8 children, and so one strategy that we used is we had family meetings. And in those family meetings, we had time to share. This has been such a different situation for everyone across the country. No one, I don't think that's alive, has ever been in this situation before. So taking time to have that conversation with them, as was mentioned before, even if you just have a family meeting, to explain what is going on and to let them give their feelings about not being able to hang out with their friends, about not being able to be at school with their favorite kindergarten teacher. Those things affect young people, and we have to discuss them with them. And then that's a great segue for parents to begin talking about what they need at home, because this is different for them and they have to work. So while mommy is working, while daddy is working, while grandma is working, then I need you to play your Xbox 360 until I can help you with your homework, or provide other activities for them during that time, and then you all take a break together. But I think that family meeting discussion is a great way to be able to talk to young people and hear how they're feeling, because this is a challenge for everyone. Well, that is all that we have for you at this time. We look forward to visiting with you again, and we will see you next week.